All right, so we're live, guys. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Can someone confirm they can hear me this time? Or am I screwed again?
You can be heard. You can be heard.
Yep.
Finally, my voice was. Someone killed my voice the last time. Oh, I got to fix Jake and Brandon. Or maybe I'll leave it like that. That's what Jake gets for joining like 2 minutes before the call. I'm like,
sorry.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna join.
Sorry that I was helping another of our from our teammates get their report into delivery. Shape. Sorry for doing my job.
Jake. You got to have your priorities. All right, this show is more important than any customer work that we do.
I have a priority, and here it comes.
Unless Sean, our owner of a company, is listening, then that was a joke.
I see.
All right, so
I see what you
we have with us. Yep, we have Ippsec with us. We have Too Many Dots Horse with us, Jake, and we have Brandon with us, Tech Brandon. I don't know if it's really Tech Brandon or non-technical Brandon. We may have to update that tag.
It depends on the day.
But yeah, so we don't actually have nothing to talk about because our host, as you probably noticed, is not here. Danny. He decided to take off and go hop down to some beach and relax, and then made up some excuse about his wife having car issues or car problems.
Typical.
We just can't trust. You can't trust Danny. You can't rely on him. It's fine. I see how it is.
That's why we have multiple hosts.
Redundancy. It only works when you have. Yeah, you have multiple hosts. Only works when you give them like, hey, this week I need you to host. Not, hey, it's 5 minutes before. Do you want to host? Because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, you haven't figured this out yet. We just said we've been doing this almost 6 months now. So, and we obviously still don't know what we're doing. But welcome.
Hey, Jake, you want to adjust your camera? Your head's getting cut off.
No, I'm good. Nobody needs to see the top of the head. There's nothing up there to look at anyway. Right. It's all good. Let's talk to our guests.
So
guys.
what do you guys want to talk about? What do you want to talk about, Ip? Let's see if we can bring a topic up.
Happy talking about anything. I mean, DEF CON's coming up. Unfortunately, I won't be at DEF CON this year. Any of you guys going or?
Me too. No, not this year. Next year will probably be my last year I'm going to probably go. And then I'm going to retire from DEF CON. Been a couple of years. I don't really like Vegas.
Yeah.
So it don't help that DEF CON is there.
I used to go a lot, but I don't like large crowds, and I also don't like the heat. So Vegas in August with DEF CON, it's like...
That's the thing that gets me is August and Las Vegas. That seems like a bad combo to me. So
yeah.
Well, you got that, and then you got to worry about anyone who's going there to do something stupid, and they have to deal with that nonsense as well. Where we're going to spoof a cell tower, or we're going to do this and that, and then now you have a phone that have no signal or no bars on it until someone decides to cut that out. And it's like, I don't know.
Is there a pool open on how long before the sphere gets compromised in some way? There's got to be somebody doing a pool, right?
It's so hard to tell, though. I mean, the thing is, it's like a federal crime too. So, like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
So whatever. The other thing we've been talking about this week is besides DEF CON was home labs. Not sure if you set up home labs or use home labs a lot, but considering your videos and some of the stuff you do, I kind of imagine you have a pretty decent home lab.
Yeah, so I do have 2 old Dell servers in the basement that's just racked up. I'm part of the VMware user group, so I get like a license to VMware and have Horizon and all that type of stuff set up. And I do a lot of Ansible, so pretty much all my labs are temporary. Yes. Like, I'm known for just deleting labs when other people are working in them that use my lab. They'd be like, we're building a challenge. And like, I was putting something on them. Like, well, did you put in the Ansible playbook? They're like, no, I was testing things out. Like, well, sorry.
Well, there you go.
What backups? We don't have backups.
I love Ansible though.
I'm not known for
I use Ansible to configure all my laptops and everything, all my desktops. I just use Ansible and call it a day.
Yeah, I just started doing it with the VM I use for my videos and stuff, the Parrot instance. I have a playbook on my GitHub that people can use, and get identical to what they see in the videos. I mainly did that just because I was so annoyed at myself screwing up my Python repository on my box. Like, I had 4 versions of CrackMap exec working. I'm like, I don't know which one works. Oh, I have to use CrackMap exec with Python 3.11. That's not default on this. I'm like, it's time to rebuild. And this time, let's just script it out and do the right thing.
Is that the Parrot repo? Is that the one that I just dropped in chat?
Yep.
Good, cool. Grabbed it the right one.
Yeah, I only started using Ansible because I'm paranoid, so I'm always thinking someone did something to my laptop or installed something, or I don't know. I'm just paranoid, so I like to install my machines every couple of months, and it's just annoying to install the whole OS, install all your tools, configure every single thing you wanted to it's just like nope, pop in a USB, install the base system, point into Ansible, boom, run.
I don't know. I think it's kind of fun to just pop into like an old Kali box that I provisioned and trying to troubleshoot why I can't log in and remember the password, and then is CrackMap on that, or what did I download? Is do I have Git set up? I have no idea.
See, that always bothers me.
Yeah,
like I always want to put the passwords in the notepad, but I know you're not supposed to do that. That's really bad. But it's like, it's a home lab. Does it really matter? And I kind of argue with myself. Like, should I just use the damn description to put the password in? And I don't know. Like, what do you guys recommend? Like, I keep going back and forth on that nonsense. And it's a constant.
Just use the same password on everything. Then you don't ever have to. Yeah, that's what I've learned working in this job. Just use the same password everywhere.
Yeah, or
all right. Anyone besides Jake?
Let Moose in chat says physical book, which it's not bad. I mean, I've probably got some passwords written on. Actually, I do right here. There you go. You want a password? Use password.
As much as
not a book.
Oh,
yeah, that's this.
Okay, I don't have a book.
Are you like an admin from 1990s with the sticky pad on your desk and around your monitors with all your passwords?
No.
Is that what this is? So what else you been working on, Ip? Anything else fun besides making your content videos?
I've been doing a lot more just automation and mainly like my last whole month has been Ansible because I'm building like the Red Team Village lab for DEF CON. So
wow.
A lot of that's going to be done in Ansible, and we're doing it like a template. So after the con, I can repurpose it and use it for other things. So not like it's a ton of time that's going into it, but hopefully I do things correctly and can actually reuse my work. It's like the 10th time I've said this, where I've always started a project. I'm like, I'm going to do this the correct way. And then it's going to get down to like August 8th, and it's going to be like, oh, we have to get it done in 2 days. Like, okay, now it's not going to be the correct way. I'm going to screw everything up. I know that's going to happen. That's what always happens. It's good intentions start out, and then chaos comes in and have to figure something out. The other thing I'm working on is I'm going through and trying to figure out a good way to do a bunch more like introductory videos, just breaking out topics that were in my videos. So for people that don't know me, I'm Ippsec. I do a lot of CTF videos, but my videos are generally going to be probably 60 to 120 minutes long is the average now. So a bit too long for a lot of people's like attention spans. So I've been trying to take concepts I do in the machines and then put it in its own separate video and try to find a way to organize it.
And you go pretty deep and technical in your stuff. So having a nice intro video probably helps some people get up to par with some of the technical aspect of what you talk about.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's a ton of like I seen a couple of his videos, and I've been overwhelmed sometimes with the amount of data that he just throws out there. Well, I have a short attention span, so a 60-minute video is a big commitment. I have a hard time watching a 60-minute TV show, so that's hard for me. But then I go through it, I'm watching it, and it's just like, wow, you go. Like I always wanted to make videos like that, and then I wake up and realize I'm not that good. I'm not good at making videos.
I was just thinking about this earlier. Sorry, Jake. I'm going to keep talking. I was just trying to do like a quick and dirty, like playing with. So like our next week, I'm going to try to do some live demo stuff on stream, And so I'm attempting to prep for that. So basically, I'm trying to do it off stream and at least kind of take notes. So I'm assuming that with every 60-minute video, you've put in probably tenfold that ahead of time in somewhat preparation for, like, all right, let's make sure that we get these commands right. I need to make sure I've got the tools installed or whatever, right?
It used to be that way. I think I've done it for probably 3.5 years now, maybe 4. And as long as the box isn't like insane, I typically just kind of wing it. And I found out a lot of people started liking that. Like if you go to my early videos, I rarely will make a mistake. Now in the times, like that's why my videos are probably 15, 20 minutes longer, because there's just me making mistakes left and right. And I get comments that people enjoy that. I get comments that people don't enjoy it, but because it's less work for me, I just keep doing that. Like I could go back and like edit out 5 minutes of me fumbling because I made a typo somewhere, but I think that's one of the most important things when it comes to doing any type of security testing is you're going to make mistakes, and it's all about reading the error message and knowing how to troubleshoot it, because even like the most simple things like an Active Directory golden ticket attack, I probably wouldn't get the command right the first time, even if you told me all the options I have for it. I'm just going to fumble something and be like, why didn't this work? And it's always going to be something stupid. So knowing how to troubleshoot when things go wrong, I think is one of the most important things.
Then I think it makes it more realistic and more like this relatable, in my opinion. Seeing someone go through the same thing, like, oops, I forgot to put a space here, or I mistyped something, and reverse characters or whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like that just makes it more realistic and more approachable to actually just get into this and learn more about it. Versus you see those like that perfect, like, oh wow, this was done perfectly. And when I try to do the exact same thing and follow through, I get an error and be like, what the hell did I do wrong? Oh, I don't know. Well, let me go and debug it for the next 3 days and figure out what the hell's going on here. And
well, I think too, like it also shows one of the most important skills, which is persistence, and not like try harder, but like just because it fails the first time doesn't mean that like it's never going to work. It's, there was a small error somewhere. Take your time. Be gentle on yourself, So, yeah, I love it.
It also shows.
Yeah,
it's like a common error, right? Like, so if Ip did it, then the person that's attempting to follow the video saw the exact same error message. And it's like, oh, okay, that's what that error message means. So now when I see it next time, I'm going to realize that I flip-flopped my IPs around or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, and then knowing...
Yeah, and I'm not a big...
go on.
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, I'm not a big fan of try harder either. I'm not, like, I get it. It's just like, it feels like when you ask someone something like, oh, I ran into this issue, but try harder. You son of a bitch. Okay. Thanks. That's all.
Yeah, I think it's also important to know, like, the whole keep it simple methodology and knowing commands that almost prove something. It was probably a couple months ago, I came across like an SQL injection, and I was almost positive it was SQL injection because as soon as I put a single quote in, I got an error 500. It could have been like a web application firewall or something, but I was somewhat confident that this was SQL injectable. And I kept struggling, and I found out the reason why I couldn't do anything is because they used Pydantic, which is going to be a strict typing thing, and it it's a filter on input and output, and commas were not allowed. And almost every SQL injection payload, like a comma is a very annoying character to work around. I eventually found a way to get around it, which is always funny because like you ask ChatGPT, like, can I do a union thing in SQL without commas? And ChatGPT's like, no. And then you go to like hack tricks or something, kind of read around, and you're like, oh, you can actually work around it this way, and then find it. And then you go tell the client, and then they're like, oh, we had someone come in like 2 years ago in this. They found it, but they just said it was a false positive and Cloudflare blocking them or something. So it's always just fun, like digging in to figure out exactly why. And when you get that like known false positive, it's like, I know Cloudflare isn't going to block this single quote and then a comment character, so I can't use anything with it, but I know I'm causing an error somewhere. And then you just look at why, and you're like, okay, every time I do this comma, this is why it's happening. And then try to find a way to get around that.
Yeah, I mean, when at my last company, I used to help try to teach people about secret injection, and it's just surprising that up to up to now, SQL injection is still a major problem in applications. I mean, I get it. There's sometimes it's a little bit tricky to understand it, but I mean, basic stuff like parameterize your queries, do some like health checks, don't take input from users as safe, like the sanitize things. I mean, it's really basic stuff, and you can get around. Like it becomes really hard to then really inject some of the stuff unless you're really going after and do some type of encoding or some type of doing something a little bit more, encoding aspect and changing character sets and all that stuff. But then I don't know. It just amazed me how that's still a big thing up to now. Because I remember when it came out, what is it, 20 years ago? The organization came out and it was like number 1 or number 2.
Yeah, it's it's still there. It's a lot less popular nowadays. But I think with most vulnerabilities, a lot of people mistake is they go straight for the complicated thing. Like for an SSTI, they try to like exfil something instead of just trying to cause a crash. Like as soon as I see a crash, that's what makes me the happiest because I know, okay, I have some behavior. Now I can start digging into it. Whereas if you just try, it's like SSTI payload all the things or something, you copy and paste, put it in. Doesn't work. Maybe it just wasn't the Jinja 2. It was something else like Twig. And the payload had to be tweaked slightly instead of doing a simple payload that would crash the web server, crash the thread. So you see the error message. It just goes silent. So I like just always causing those errors. I mean, there is the flip side, right? If it's a red team engagement or something like that, and you do it on an internal app and they have some type of logging, chances are like an error 500 in a log may set off some alarm bells. You'd probably be surprised at how many times you find an organization does have logging and you set off those alarm bells and they don't ever read the logs. So you're still good, but that's always like a gamble, right?
I would not be surprised at all of them not reading the logs. No.
Well, I mean, you don't have to read the logs. Just get a sim and ingest it and set up your rule sets, and it can kind of do most of the learning for you if you don't want to go through your logs and do deep dive analysis of it. But yeah, I agree. I mean,
companies ignore antivirus alerts all the time, so they're not going to know what to do with the 500. Yeah.
Jeff put in chat that the hot take, the only detection controls companies have by default is broken production systems. So you throw enough errors and somebody will pay attention.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah, broken production systems or something is causing a bottleneck in the revenue stream. Hey, we didn't get paid this week. What's going on here? We need to look into this. I mean, at least that's the experience I had in one of my former companies. Is that's the only time anything ever made it in security as priority number 1 or within the top 10 when it affected the bottom line.
Yeah, that's true.
Other than that, it's like, don't worry about it. But we have sensitive data and they can get all like, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's okay.
And that's also like
I was going to say the A in the CIA triad is availability, right? So it's important.
And that's also like rule number 1 when like implementing any type of advanced filter, like a web application firewall. Never set it to block first. Always put it in some type of permissive mode so you can see something. I mean, unless you don't want the WAF in your environment, because the quickest way to never do anything security is install something, have it take it down, and then the CEO, whoever sees, like, oh, we're never going to do this again. Like,
or they just set it up and leave it. They set it up and leave it in training mode for like 5 years and never actually put it into block mode.
But at least when you get popped, when it's in training mode, you may have some IR person come look at those logs and see when it happened.
Yeah.
That's what the comment I was going to make on that too, is we talked about the logging that they don't look at or the alarm that got ignored. Once you go through that IR, how stupid do you feel when you're like, oh no, you're like, it wasn't detected. And then you're like, oh no, it was detected. It was just ignored or totally missed. Right. And then,
or you have the sim set up and your logs roll over every 24 hours instead of like a week or a month or something. So now it's like, oh yeah, that happened 2 days ago. Well, I'm not going to be able to see it now. Good luck. Because they don't want to pay for the storage or the upgraded license.
Yeah, I know a lot of places, like I've seen Sysmon not installed more times than I care to remember because they don't want to set up Elastic Splunk or something. And it's like, well, it won't be like immediately valuable, but if you just installed Sysmon on your computers, at least you'll have that advanced logging for when something does happen. And then you'll be able to actually act on it. And they're like, well, someone could just clear the logs. I'm like, well, if someone clears the logs, that's like my favorite day because you told me something bad happened on this laptop, and now it's like a CTF to me. I'm going to dig into it relentlessly. If they don't clear the logs, I'm always going to question, are they on this? Right? It's until you get that smoking gun that something bad happened. That's when you get like that passion that you won't let it drop. At least for me, right?
I love that.
So we had that happen once at my job, on one of my previous job. We're doing a release. Well, the DBA comes in, they sit down at the desk, they're doing something. Next thing you know, the whole system goes down. Everything goes down. And we're like, what the hell happened? So we go check the logs. The DBA is like, nope, it wasn't me. I didn't do anything yet. I was waiting for you guys, right, to tell me when to go. And we go look at the logs to see what happened after we get everything back up and running. All the logs on the databases were all cleared minutes after we went down. Suspicious.
Yeah.
I say. And they go, oh, it must have been a bug in SQL Server and it cleared the logs by accident. Really? A bug in SQL Server that cleared the logs, and no one online is going crazy like talking about this. It has happened to our systems only. Okay.
Yeah, I've never seen
2 minutes after we're down
an attacker actually clear the logs. 9 times out of 10, I would say it's just employees, and the 1 time out of 10, it's just someone did the wrong, like did it unintentionally.
Well, I have, like, when I was doing some testing and stuff, I used to actually do like log this, like grab a bunch of log packets that was broadcast from before and just keep piling it in. So that way you could overflood the log and hopefully get a turnover on the system. So that's the most I ever did with logs. I didn't actually go through and try to freaking clear everything. Because that clearing the logs is a really, like, in my opinion, is a clear indicator something is wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, our Elasticsearch memory went from 100 gigs to 0 gigs real fast. What happened here? Like, or our systems, all of a sudden, all our PCs have a lot of memory left freed up. Interesting.
Listen,
So,
clear and clear filter are too close to each other in some places. I'm just saying. That's all.
That is true. I have done that on systems before by accident. But don't it normally when you hit clear logs, it prompts you still? You just have to hit cancel?
No, of course he was sure. He was definitely sure. I like the conversation that's going on in chat too right now about Moose is talking about playing the game of, is it a threat actor or is it an employee?
9 out of 10 is an employee who could also be a threat actor. Never know.
That's the insider threat.
Never hire an employee named Tyler, ever. No one named Tyler is ever up to anything good. That's my opinion. So what are you gonna do for DEF CON since you're not going for the challenge? You're just gonna do everything remotely?
Yeah.
And just have.
That's probably the ideal situation, honestly, because if I was at DEF CON, I probably wouldn't be in the mental state to like make sure everything's still working.
Yeah. That and the services, that's awful. Wi-Fi, cell tower.
Yeah.
Just getting anything. Oh, it's just awful. So how big is the actual challenge this year going to be for the red team? What are you doing?
I would say probably about 10 boxes.
And they have what, the same, was it 48 hours or something like that? Or is it, I can't remember how long the challenge is. It's been ages since I did any of that stuff.
I think it's going to be about 20 hours.
Only 20. Oh,
because it's 2 rounds. So the actual like hands-on lab portion is the second round. You have like the Jeopardy round that filters a lot of people, because if you want, like, if you took the DEF CON crowd and threw them at a bunch of environments, that's like, you'd have a denial of service almost immediately. You wouldn't need you there like spamming things to roll the logs, because the logs would just roll automatically from 200 people hammering out one box, right? So there's a Jeopardy round that goes beforehand to filter it out to a reasonable number of people to then go attack the environment. But there's a lot of fun things I'm throwing in that I'm excited about, but can't really talk about yet because it would be massive spoilers to anyone that listens to this.
Well, only spoilers are listened only for our audience to be spoilers. So I mean, isn't that a perk of listening to this channel? It's like you get these kind of spoilers. That's a little hint. Is there any little slim hint you can give them? That's a tiny one. No pressure. No pressure. I'm not gonna kick you off.
Yeah.
No.
Me and a friend have spent way too long trying to figure out how to get Wi-Fi working without any hardware. In a good way. So just from within libvirt VMware to be able to do like better cap and intercept wireless handshakes and do things. Which isn't hard, but I haven't really seen it done much in like CTFs or virtual environments without like having some type of USB thing plugged in, which doesn't scale. So doing that type of simulation has been challenging but fun.
Yeah, I never seen a CTF with that before either. But again, the last time I did a CTF was 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. So it's been some time.
It's back before Wi-Fi existed. Yeah.
You're older than me, Brandon.
I am. Okay.
I believe.
I look pretty.
I
look younger than you. So there's a question from chat that I wanted to kind of go back a little bit. Ip had talked about building with Ansible and was trying to do some low barrier to entry type videos, and someone in chat had made a comment that they would like to see some of the content around learning Ansible or using Ansible to automate a little bit of the InfoSec lab environments, and I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, so like 2 weeks ago, I put a playlist on my channel of me building my Parrot Ansible playbook. Because I did it in like video format, it's not going to be probably the best way to do it, but it is certainly a way. If you watch the video, like I break everything into a lot of roles. So like there's a role for installing tools, there's a role for configuring my terminal, there's a role for Firefox and Burp Suite because I want to install extensions, export the certificate out of Burp Suite, import it into Firefox. I hate doing that. I always forget. So I have Ansible like handle all of that. So instead of just having some huge overcomplicated YAML file, I broke a lot of things into a lot of smaller roles to make it easier to find what you're looking for, how to do.
That's awesome. That's perfect.
So one thing I was always wanted to do when I always wanted to create videos, I told you that before, was actually just create one where you do your CTF with custom tool development only. So you're writing all your tools from Python from the ground up for everything, from port scanning to like doing a burp kind of simulation thing where it's doing packet capturing using like man in the middle and then rebroadcasting and all that fun stuff. Yeah, I'm just curious. So like, do you ever think that's something that would be some people would be interested in something like that, or would you be interested in doing something like that?
I would. I don't know how you'd really enforce that. A funny way to go about that would be to do everything in IPv6 because you'd be surprised at how many tools break on IPv6. I'm fairly confident SQL map won't work out of the box on IPv6. It may have like got patched within the last 3 or 4 years, but I remember having to do that one time and then using Burp Suite to stand up as a like proxy to do IPv4 to IPv6 to get SQL map working. But if you've ever thrown something through Burp Suite like a fuzzer, you know how much slower it goes.
Yeah, but I was thinking more of because creating training videos, so that way the average person could learn tool development.
Yeah.
Because one thing, like I remember when I was doing OSCP, that's what I did was just create custom tools because I was so scared. I don't know what tools I'm allowed to use, and it kind of like it just gives you like here's some tools don't use, and it's like I'm just gonna write everything in Python. And when I did that, I got back the feedback I got back from them was, oh, this is a custom tool. Can you show your code? Blah blah blah. And I sent source code and everything. They say they don't want me to see that. I'm like, wow, why is more people not doing it? Like, it's so much fun to write your own tools and break it. I mean, it's not going to be as good as production tools. So this is not meant to replace any production tools whatsoever. But it's just fun to know the inner workings of how these tools work and just have fun with them and just go crazy and see what you can do, especially when you enter an environment where you can't install an executable. and you could only use like scripting languages to then do a bunch of your some of your discovery and reconnaissance and stuff like that. So
yeah, I
don't know.
I like that idea. I tried to do something similar a long time ago. The issue I ran into, I'm really bad at coding and no one wants to watch me for 3 or 4 hours, or if they do want to watch me, I don't want to record it. But like my biggest complaint is like how a lot of API hacking is taught. It's just like they never go and teach how an API actually works. They just build these random web pages that aren't real APIs. They're like just PHP files that there's like, you're attacking this. It has no actual graphical user interface. I'm going to call this an API. And then say, take your web, like your normal web hacking and apply it to it. It's not going on the back end, teaching you like the technologies the API uses and ways around it. And I think that's one of the critical things missing. I planned on revisiting that later in the year thanks to Copilot. I think I may be able to code quickly, or maybe just learn how to tell the AI to code it for me. I've had a lot of fun with Copilot in my recent videos of just being able to be like, I don't know how to do this. I think it's on Saturday One Drops where I'm doing like a cross-site scripting thing, and you have to play with the user's browser, steal the CSRF token. And a year ago, it would be me fumbling around with regex trying to figure out how to do it or read the document element properties to get this value out. But I just did like / grab the authenticity _ token, and then it just spit out a simple regex for me to use. And it almost worked out of the box, but it was super nice.
If you need a developer, to help you, let me know. I would love to team up, and you could do your training. I'll just help you write all the code, or create an API from the ground up and just stand it up there and release all the code, open source to everyone. Because I don't know. I just find that there's not too many developers out there in the security field, and it's becoming more of a dying art. And everyone's just using turnkey solutions.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I get it. It's affordable. It's cheaper, and but
like
just me and my gripe.
Going back at like the Pydantic thing I mentioned earlier, I was recreating like a NoSQL injection on a web app. And one of my favorite things about doing it and creating those things is just learn all the new technologies. And I wanted to do NoSQL injection, but I didn't want to write JavaScript. So I did it in FastAPI because I'm much more confident with Python. And then I found out FastAPI is not defaultly vulnerable to MongoDB injection because of Pydantic. Because you can't do any, I wouldn't say the whole purpose of Pydantic is, but the whole purpose of it towards me, and what I find beneficial out of it, is it takes out like the type juggling type of attacks. Because if you don't know SQL injection and NoSQL, you have to give it objects instead of strings. And JavaScript will happily, you give it an object, it treats it as an object, and you can do that injection. But when it came to trying to do it in FastAPI, just grabbing the bad code off Stack Overflow / ChatGPT, I gave it the object and it said, I'm expecting a string, and did not process it. So then I had to go find out how to bypass Pydantic on that method in order to make it injectable, because we wanted to be able to inject it. And knowing, I can't really just shoot myself in the foot as easily in this language. It's good to know for the future, right? So now in the future, if I'm ever doing like a web pen test against a Python app that I know uses some type of NoSQL, I may not go dig into that rabbit hole as much if I notice they're using some type of input validation, because it's just not going to be as easily type juggle / confusion, whatever it's called.
Yeah, I mean, again, Node.js is fun too, but all that stuff I could definitely help you out if you need any help in that stuff. We created, because I think I just released I deleted my repo, but I think I don't know if I deleted the repo for a vulnerable website, or did I just send it out to you guys for a copy for you guys to look at, right? Yeah, that's all in Node.js. It's a vulnerable website. You can do all kinds of fun stuff like SQL injection, cross-site scripting, reflection, all that stuff. It's all in there. Yeah, I love to just, because that's the thing is I like to just release that stuff and have people play with it, mess around, and just learn security. I mean, to me that's the best part of being security. It's training other people, teaching them, giving them that stepping stone so they could go and get that inquisitiveness and just wants to start breaking, causing havoc. Maybe I like that, or I just want to see the world burn. One of those two things.
Why not both?
I never know.
Yeah, it's fun.
So what other CTFs are you working? What other CTFs are you working on for this year? You have anything else planned up?
I don't believe so. I just always enjoy building things because you always learn those weird things. And it's what I try to show a lot in my videos is almost every time after I solve a box, I try to go and find something else that's interesting about it, because almost every time the author's going to do something that you can still learn from, and how they set the software up or how the software works. Like, I think once you solve the challenge, it's only halfway, right? There's so many other things you could do. You could look into installing mod security to see if the default rules would block you. There was something recently, probably like 4 to 5 months ago, that I did that. I was like, mod security should have blocked me here. And then I realized the way they did the encoding the number, like the order they had the rules was wrong. So they would do URL decoding and then base64 decoding when it needed to be the other way around, because it wouldn't be like, I'll try to base64 then URL decode. It wouldn't try all the rules consistently. It was just left to right, not maybe recursively is the right word, where it goes left to right, then left to right until no rules hit, right? Yep. So just finding the order there, and that was a fun thing to find and get fixed.
So what was your favorite box you ever cracked open on a CTF? Like, what was it, and how long did it take you to actually get into it?
I would guess my favorite box is from like the beginning of Hack the Box. It was called Sneaky. And my favorite thing about it is it taught me a lot about IPv6 and also what link local meant. I've always known like link local addresses on IPv4. I think it's like 169.154, that like IP address that Windows gives you when you don't have DHCP and you get frustrated.
Yep.
The IPv6 one, wow. Now that I'm talking about it, I forgot what link local, how it begins. Is it like, it's not FFE, right? IPv6 link.
I don't know. I don't know if I ever did the box Sneaky. I'm trying to think if I ever did that one or not. Have you done that one, Brandon? I know you're starting to get into CTFs now on Hack the Box.
No, I haven't. You remember, Dave, like you had like 1,000 points or something, and I had 0 points because I only do like the free boxes.
So it is the IPv6 link local is those ones that begin with FE80 that you see all the time when you do like IP address or ifconfig. And I always thought like link local was 127.0.0.1. Like that's loopback. There's a reason it's called differently. Yeah. Link local just means if you're on the same broadcast domain, which means if there's not like a gateway in between, you can talk to it. So the path.
Yeah, if you have a hub setup.
Yeah. So the path for Sneaky was you're supposed to find SNMP, and then SNMP used to link the IPv6 address. Well, I never scanned UDP on my Nmap. So I just kept digging at it. And I was like, well, maybe it's on IPv6. I saw a hint that it was IPv6. I still didn't think to go to SNMP. So I started looking into link local, realizing, oh, if I'm on the same subnet. And then I was looking at, wait, I know the link local address sometimes is based on the MAC address. So I tried that. And then I eventually found out if I did a like broadcast ping from another box I pwned, I would see that would reach back to me. I could get it, and then I could talk to it over the link local address, talk to it over IPv6, and pwn the box that way without ever finding the routable IPv6 one. And that's been, I've used that lateral movement before on other engagements just because a lot of times IPv6 is ignored. So,
well, that brings up another question. Like sometimes I see CTF boxes, like when I was doing them, like they're nice, but they're kind of not realistic. How many of the boxes have you seen lately that are more realistic to attack patterns or attack, like different attacks you can use in the wild?
So, I'm going to be biased when I answer this because I do work for Hack the Box and we put out boxes every week. Probably, I would say 14 out of 15 boxes come from the community, which means we don't create them, but we have our hand in everything that we get released. So when someone submits a box to us, it goes to what we call the release committee, which means like me, OXDF, Arkanoid, TRX, a bunch of the senior people that have been around Hack the Box for years, reviews the write-up. And when we review the write-up, we look for a lot of things we don't like. And the biggest thing to me that like is my pet peeve is like note.text or just talking to the player. It's great. I used to like it. Like if you went 10 years ago and talked to me, that was like how I thought you should do boxes. But I think every time you break like the fourth wall, talk to the player, you rob them of the ability to do recon. And when you do that, you're making it not realistic. So we always try to find ways that we go back to the author and tell them, we don't like this aspect. If you remove it, make sure this works, and that will be somewhat realistic. A lot of the other things we do, like we reject a lot of boxes that just have random pwn binaries or some script on it that they're supposed to run, like piece by or something, discover the script and exploit. And we generally will reject over that nowadays because everything needs a purpose for it to be on. It may not be a good purpose. Like maybe that script is just there to look at a database entry, do something, but we always try to make a complete story when we do it, and also try our best not to talk to the players because there's so many different ways that you can think outside of the box and do something. Like if you do note.text and say, hey, this file appeared on the server in this directory, look at this directory. Well, they could also look at timestamps. They could maybe find something in a Vim history file. Like the whole forensic aspect gets lost on players. And I think that's one of the most important ones. And the players that do understand that and don't just run like linps and instead do find commands and filter based upon modified times will typically find a lot of the solves, like they'll progress a lot quicker. I know the top teams used to get a lot of unintendeds because of event logging in Windows. We were bad at clearing like PowerShell history and always discovering Windows had PowerShell history in yet another location that we just didn't know about. So now we clear those, but again, like you'd be surprised at how much IR can help your offensive game if you just start using it and looking at it.
Yeah, I remember when I was back when I was doing Hack the Box. I forgot how many years ago that was. There was one where we were getting in the box, and yeah, they didn't clear the history.
Yeah,
and you get to see exactly what they did. Like, oh, well, there's the answer right there. Just reverse everything. Boom.
Yep.
Done. Yeah, that was funny as hell. And then I reached out. I'm like, was that the way we're supposed to hack this box? And they're like, no, it was not.
Yeah.
But then you also have boxes like I know some people who are doing the OSCP or doing some other certifications where they come to me and they tell me about the box they were doing. And I'm just like, that's not very realistic. I don't know why they were. I don't think it was OSCP. What was it, Brandon, that you were going for? Some state you were going for?
Oh, that was the TCM one, the PNPT. So I was probably doing some of the CTFs. Yeah, because I did.
Yeah,
I did a few, and I think I was telling you about some that I was playing with in Hack the Box, and what Ip was just saying about hints and such in the gamification of it made me realize that a lot of times people tend to say, yeah, go to Try Hack Me and go to Hack the Box. Those two platforms seem to be incredibly different because Try Hack Me to me is what I needed when I first started. It's like, hey, I want to learn more about Windows exploits, and I kind of just want to be walked through, right? I want somebody to, I mean, it's essentially like watching one of Ip's videos while I'm doing it, right? Instead of just attempting to do it totally blind. So I think that's where some of those differences come on those two platforms, is just a little bit in the mentality of how they're set up.
Yeah, and Hack the Box has the same mode up to easy. So there's something that's called guided mode now that's like question and answer.
Oh.
So it'll just guide you along. So if you don't want to watch the video, don't follow the write-up. It'll have questions like, how many ports are open? Okay, I know I need to run nmap. What type of vulnerability is this vulnerable to? And if you're struggling, you can just guess like SQL, command injection, and then you'll guess it and you're like, okay, now I know to start trying these things. And I think that I'm not positive if TryHackMe does it, but what we do is that placeholder text is masked correctly to the answer. So if it's SQL injection, you'll see 3 stars and then probably 8 stars. I think injection's 8 characters, but So you can look at the answer and kind of metagame it that way. Some people view it as cheating, but as long as you're on the platform, doesn't matter what platform, and doing something, I think that is infinitely better than being called a cheater or whatever, because you're learning, right? I think that's going to be the hardest thing that people have nowadays that I didn't have when I was learning this, is just the amount of resources out there and how hard it can be to get started, because it's human nature to try to do something the best, most optimal path, right? Or following the footsteps of someone else. And I would say the footsteps you follow, like I did OSCP like 2015, 2016, maybe 2014. I forget what year it was. But if you follow my exact path, it's no longer a good path. Just because I did it that way doesn't mean that you should. Probably half the sites I used and stuff are just no longer available, right? So instead of just spending 2 months of trying to find the best way to learn this type of attack, just go and set a small goal to say, I'm going to do one room or one machine a week, and we're going to go for 2 or 3 months and see where I'm at 3 months from now, right? If you set the small attainable goal, I think that's going to be much more realistic, and you'll find out you don't need a structure. You can just wing it and have great results, right? That's what we're kind of talking about before this show, just internally. We're like, do we have anything we want to talk about? Well, if we did, we'll probably get frustrated 5-10 minutes after it, be like, we didn't go to plan, right? Just wing it, and great like discussion will come. Same with learning, right? As long as you're doing something, it's infinitely better than just sitting on Discord, Reddit, Twitter, Threads, whatever you're on. Just it's hard to do that, right? It's just like it's hard to go to the gym. Like the very first time you go to the gym, you probably won't want to go the second time. You feel like crap. Your muscles hurt, right? But if you start doing it, you get a routine down. You're doing it for like 4 to 5 weeks. That's when you're not going to want to break the rhythm, and you're going to keep at it. And you probably won't notice results, but you'll be doing it long enough where you will eventually, right? It probably takes 2 to 3 months to actually notice any type of good result.
I give it 5 minutes. If I don't notice the results and working out in 5 minutes, I'm done. That's it.
Just close the box and start a new box, right? You know. Listen, I ran in map. I'm not familiar with these services. We're just going to do the next one.
Problem I have with Nmap is sometimes is this unless you're using a paid subscription of Hack the Box, it is very brutal. Sometimes using the Nmap, do the in-depth scan in Nmap, it just takes forever. But I mean, that's one thing I learned is just do it when no one else is around. Like just time everything so you get the service you need when no one else is around, and just go after it. So I'm just curious, what is your favorite Nmap looks like? What do you normally do when you're doing an Nmap scan? Like, do you go for the full, like, give me your OS, give me your signatures, let me look for everything, we scan all the ports, or do you kind of like just go for the known ports kind of concept and then work your way down?
Most of the time I will, if I'm doing a box blindly, I'll generally just hit it over 80 or something. And I would say 9 times out of 10, there's some type of website. So I get to the website and then just do the default Nmap of SCSV to do basic script scanning. And then once I start getting into a roadblock, don't know what to do, that's when I look, Nmap is finished, right? If I do 80 and I can't hit it, that's when I'll probably do a -p- I'll start off with, and then also do -v, so it shows me open ports as it finds them. I may do like a -- min rate and change the min rate to like 10,000 packets per second if I'm really antsy. But even when I do that, I typically go back and run it slowly, just because when you do things that fast, it's going to miss things. It won't miss them every time, which is frustrating. But it's the reason why I like Nmap over other tools like Rust Scanner or things like that, because just because a tool can go fast doesn't mean it should go fast, right? If you use like RustScan on a corporate network and scan the /24 at max threads, there's a high chance that you can cause an outage, especially if they have like site-to-site VPNs and bad firewalls, things like that. Like, you never know what's going to happen, right? Nmap at its default is going to be relatively safe. But I mean, if you hit a printer, there's always the chance that you may knock that thing offline, because printers are pretty fragile devices. But
yeah, printer sucks.
Going fast is not always the best.
Yeah, so one thing I like to do is I like to do like a light scan of the known ports and everything, and then I like to kind of like rank the ports by common, uncommon, but you still known. So known ports, uncommon, and then rare ports. Like they're using 10,999. That's not a very known port. And I like to just categorize things and then spend 15 minutes just looking at each category and just kind of like round robin it, like keep going around and then until I find something more important, because I tend to run into rabbit holes. Like if I don't have a time limit, I will keep going and diving deep. And with CTFs, that's like the kiss of death, right? You never want to spend too much time in one area unless you know this is the exact way of exploit. Otherwise, you're going to end up with those rabbit holes that people like to put in there. And there's 2 days are gone and you're still working on the box kind of a thing.
Yeah, if I saw a 1099, though, I'd probably go to that one first. Isn't that like Java RMI?
I don't remember anymore. I haven't done a CTF in like 4 years. I stopped doing that. Once my wife told me like, hey, you need to cut back on all your hobbies. I have too many hobbies, way too many hobbies. Apparently.
Yeah, 1099 is one of those ports that you just open up MS Metasploit at that point and throw it at it.
I'm on the fence with Metasploit. I mean, I love the tool. I just hate that it's written in Ruby. I'm not a big Ruby fan.
I mean, you can have Python and Golang extensions to it now.
I know, but it's just, why did it not write into Python to begin with? Like, really, Ruby?
I mean, it could still be Perl. I mean, Metasploit was first done in Perl, and then it moved.
You're making Moose sad with your Ruby slander here.
Sorry, I'm not a Ruby fan. I'm not. I'm just not. I'm not a Java fan either. For those out there, so I'm gonna piss 2 sets of people off. I don't like Java unless it's in a coffee cup, and I don't like Ruby. So,
but he likes JavaScript.
Yes. I do like JavaScript. I know. I'm odd. I'm a weird guy.
Understatement of the year.
JavaScript is. I like JavaScript and I like Python. Those are my 2 favorite things I like to mess with because they're scripting languages that you can do so much with. They're so versatile. That's the only reason I like them. I also like C#, and C++. No, C++. Nah, C. I like C better than C++. But anyway, that's just me. Don't shake your head. Don't judge me.
I noticed no PowerShell came out of that. That's all I'm saying.
Have you worked in PowerShell? You have. So yes. You know why. The only scripting language where half of it is not documented properly. And the half that is documented, you have to second guess it sometimes. Like I was just going through and I was like, hey, I need to clean up this PowerShell script. So I'm going to add error actions on stuff. Oh, error actions, even though it's documented it should work, actually does not exist for this commandlet that I was trying to use it for. Even though Microsoft insists that it exists. Thank you, Microsoft. Thank you for your consistency and inconsistency. The consistent and inconsistent.
How does Dev get on his soapbox about languages every single week? Like I feel like hey, we go through this.
Hey, you talk about AD every single week.
So somebody mentions like, hey, a tool was written in Ruby, and he's like, oh, I hate Ruby and everything to do with it. I do talk about AD all the time.
I actually don't think we talked about AD in the past hour.
We haven't really touched on it too much. Nope. We said golden. Well, we said golden ticket. We talked about golden tickets.
Yeah.
There you go, Sean.
We said the word golden ticket.
Yeah.
I will say, going back to the whole like forensic timestamp thing, one of my favorite things to do and just other AD labs that people create. Not saying this is for like certification purposes, but maybe it is. Like domain users can see the last password set of accounts. So looking at the last password set of accounts in CTFs is always fun because if it's either right when the lab was provisioned, chances are you may want to get to that account. If it's just one password that is oddly older than all the others, you may want to password spray that password because it may be a weak one. It's just kind of getting into the mind and metagaming it a little bit, looking at that type of detail.
Yep, I've done that.
It's a really simple command to do it too. Actually, Trimark has a tool written in PowerShell that can help you probably with CTFs in Windows AD environments.
I bet it can.
You talking about
the all kinds of. Go ahead.
Talking about invoke Trimark AD checks.
Yep. That probably can help you with, because it gives you that information, the bad password count information, as well as the bad password last time. I mean, not bad password. The last
Password
timestamp
set.
for your password, all kinds of stuff. Yep.
It does give you last bad
bunch of
password too,
information.
doesn't it? That's in there. It always
believe
amazes me
so.
how much information is available to domain users.
Yeah, it's more than necessary.
And
Way
I
more.
never understood why they let that information out there. Like, you can even check ACLs on certain levels of objects, and it's just like, why do you need to check all this as a domain user?
I mean,
Like, why do you have this level of granularity into the systems? But
I don't even know why a domain user even needs to pull a list of all other users or look at members of administrators.
well, they need that if they have Exchange, definitely. Otherwise, too, the address book wouldn't work. Yeah, the address book wouldn't work.
I mean, they could just query the gal directly.
Exactly.
But I mean, other than that, I mean, a lot of stuff. Yeah.
And Exchange is going
They won't be
away.
able to set-
It's all Office 365 Azure now.
It's been going away for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it will continue to be going away.
You mean like classic ASP has been going away for like the last 3 years and it's still around?
Yes. Oh man.
God damn it. Speaking another language I don't like.
Well, I mean, the biggest competitor to Mail is now over, like, I would guess the biggest, like, user base of Exchange is probably going to be governments, right? That aren't on the cloud yet. But their competitor, like, the only other big email provider I know is, like, IBM Lotus Notes, which is no longer IBM. It's a company in India. So Microsoft doesn't really have any competitor to Exchange. So if they wanted to kill it, where would you go? Like, what other on-premise email can you use?
Well,
you could try
Zimbra.
like
Zimbra, yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, if you're talking about on-premise, there's definitely not too many options out there, if any. I don't even, as a SA, I wouldn't even want to implement another email solution. Oh my God, that sounds so awful and so painful. Now I know why all the SAs drink so much.
I didn't think like Microsoft would introduce and kill Hyper-V so quick. Isn't Hyper-V gone? Or is that still?
Is it? I didn't think it was. No, I think it's still there. Like, you could. I don't think they recommend it as a like virtualization server, but they recommend it as a virtualization client on machine for virtual VirtualBox or something like that, or workstation or VM workstation similar to that.
Yeah, it looks like they deprecated in 2019 and say it won't be available after 2029.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
That's news to me. I didn't know.
That's interesting.
There will still be people confused when it goes away. They'll be like, "What? You got 10 years."
Doesn't Defender use some of that for some of its sandboxing too? Like, doesn't it use?
I think they'll still keep like the virtualization stuff under the hood. So like credential guard, all that type of goodness.
Yeah.
But I think they're just getting rid of like the VMware player aspect of Hyper-V.
Gotcha.
I thought Microsoft moved all its sandboxing off now. It offloaded some of it to the cloud for the EDR solution that they created, whatever the Defender APT thing is called.
Well, like there's the whole concept of, I think it's credential guard. It may be another thing they call where like LSAS doesn't run in the same memory space as your current operating system. There's just a like middleware that you could then query LSAS with. So things like Mimikatz can't dump the memory space because it's in a different hypervisor. Like, I don't see that going away, but I don't think of that as Hyper-V, even though like it stemmed from Hyper-V. That's just like virtualization technology, like
VRAM kind of systems. Yep. Oh, shucks, we're almost near the hour. I didn't even realize it. So I forgot what we do now. Is it called Things You're Happy? What is it called, Jake? I don't know what Danny calls it, or you call it.
I think he said wins of the week, and like I don't know that I'm a big fan of that. But just like happy times to go out.
So you don't like bad things? Is that what you're saying? Are you emotionist?
Personally?
Yeah.
Emotionist?
Yeah.
I love that. Wins of the week. Let's just stick with that. If you got any wins this week, things that went well, that are making you feel good. And if you don't, something that sucked this week, that's fine too.
I ran Better Cap and got a WPA handshake without a single wireless device. That was exciting.
Is actually really interesting. We're gonna have to talk more after this after the show.
What about you, Brandon?
All right, Brandon, you're next.
I'm excited to get out of town this weekend, so I'm not drinking on happy hour because I've got to be driving here shortly. So
yeah, but if you're driving with family, you're supposed to be drinking. I thought.
I'll drink when I get there.
Isn't that how? Okay, not while you're driving. Before you drive.
Oh, drink beforehand.
Yeah, that way you're not drinking and driving. Isn't that how that works?
Only in Missouri.
Oh, okay.
This explains
I do not condone drinking and driving at all. Yes, the only time I do drinking before driving is because I don't drive anymore, period. So I'm allowed to.
Okay.
I do not condone people drinking before driving or operating heavy machinery in any way, shape, or form. All right, Jake, your turn.
Wins of the week are just, being somewhere else, as you can tell by my different background, and trying to work. And I don't think I like it, actually. What did I work? 3 days this week and 2 days off, and it loses the flow, loses the momentum for the week. So, but just being here and being out and being able to get in the water and see nature and that sort of thing is always a good week.
4-day week, like work Monday through Thursday and take Friday off.
I think maybe next year that's what we'll do. Yeah. How about you, Dev?
So my win of the week is it's actually not a win. It's a confusion of the week for me. Mine's is confusion of the week. I'm looking to put a home generator in my house, and I thought it was a simple process getting some quotes. No, it's not. It is not a simple process. It's like mind-numbingly painful sometimes to work with contractors and get things and get permits and figure out if you're allowed to put a pipe over egress window or not, and all this other nonsense. So mine's is confusion of the week. That's what it is. It's just like my head hurts talking from these contractors.
Have you talked to the power company yet?
Oh God, I have that call because I may or may not have to upgrade my gas meter. So that's gonna be fun. Yeah, exactly. That's been my week. I thought this was gonna be like, hey, get a couple quotes, sign a check, call it a day. No, it is not that simple. So that's what I'm dealing with. If anyone recommends any generator companies out there that's in the upper New York State area, please let me know. I'm having a hard time finding a good one. So, apparently. One that actually is nice. All right, so we're going to call that a wrap. You guys have anything you want to say before we go offline?
Come to Trimark for all your AD, Entra ID, and VMware security assessment needs.
Oh, yeah, I guess we should do that, right? The company we work for that pays the check and allows us to do this, yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget Hack the Box with Ip, man.
Yeah, Hack the Box.
If you haven't done Hack the Box, you have not, I don't know what to tell you. Hack the Box is amazing.
VIP Plus member right here.
I used to be a member, and then it's just like, after I got into the top 10, I was like, that's good enough for me. I'm done. I'm going to back away from this. But it was so much fun. It's a blast. There's a great community chat service. You can talk to people, get to hone your skills, and really meet good people who just all love to do the exact same thing you're doing, hacking boxes legally and learning stuff as you go. So that's always a fun times. All right, that's our week. Later.
Take care.